Okay, let's move on to Merge 2. There was a piece of news in Mobile Gamer Biz again, where one of the Trailmix GMs, Felicity Gracie Hurst, gets on to talk about a lot of Love and Pies, which is a game that has done really well in the Merge 2 space, has been one piece of news, and it was interesting on why she's doing this PR push or what's up at Trailmix. And then we got a separate piece of news from Tristan Clark, who is a co-founder at Trailmix, reporting on LinkedIn that this is going to be his last week at Trailmix. So there's two things going on here. There's the Merge genre news, and there's how Trailmix fits into it. Jen, what's going on in Merge?
Yeah, so I took a look. I used to love this genre as a human. I have since pivoted to your favorite All in Whole and the Royal Kingdom and Royal Matches. Had no time left in my life to continue to play Merge 2. It's on fire. So I looked at Sensor Tower US year-to-date data. So that's what we're going to look at here. It is the number 2 top revenue subgenre in puzzle. It's number 2 right after the Royal Matches of the world. And more importantly, it's the number 7 top revenue subgenre overall of all subgenres, right behind Squad RPG, one of our favorites. Again, this is just US year to date. Love and Pies is a top 7 game in Merge 2. Gossip Harbor's number 1, $100 million year to date in the US alone. Super, super impressive. Cress, it's not Mice Nuts anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. Nope.
No, not Mice Nuts.
That is next one is just basically showing that the genre during the last 12 months has doubled in terms of in-app purchases, which is quite a growth. And we're talking about declining market and this and that, but look at Merge 2 just growing. And then I put in a few of the top games as well as Love and Pies to just see how well this Trailmix title has fared as the genre has doubled. So Gossip Harbor is essentially the game that is driving the growth on the genre as a whole. And of course, there's plenty of new games that came in. Travel Town, Seaside Escape, Merge Mansion have been kind of holding steady. But Love and Pies is actually, it's tiny compared to those 4 largest one. Love and Pies has actually lost about 30% of its monthly revenue since the beginning of the year. So it's not faring too well for Trailmix. And looking at Merge Mansion, which is another Supercell owned / backed company in the same genre.
Metacore, right?
Metacore, yeah. They've been holding steady. They used to be the number 1. I think they took the position from Zynga. And now they're at number 4. And so everybody else is kind of keeping steady. Seaside grew a little bit, but it's really the Gossip Harbor that is absolutely just crushing it.
They're crushing it. And then Travel Town, which was taken over by a Chinese company. Moonactive.
No, Travel Town. Yeah, that's Israeli.
Oh, Israeli. Okay.
Yeah.
What's going on in puzzle is really interesting is that, especially in the last year or so, it's really broken into all of these different subgenres where you can really get into what's working and what's not working within each of these. Love and Pies is basically the original for Merge 2. They're the OGs. That's what everyone copied. And I think they've just had a difficult time keeping up with what everyone else is doing and how they've really added in all the monetization. They've taken a lot of social casino monetization components, meta collections to really drive the category. So let's go back to shooters because, it's not a podcast with us if we don't talk about shooters.
So live service shooter game comes to a premature end. And this is Steel Hunters from Wargaming. It's a mech game that we actually covered to quite a detail on this TWIG episode a few episodes ago. We talked about Steel Hunters versus War Robots, and Chris Sides was actually a guest host on the podcast. And he came pretty hard at Steel Hunters, talking of their gunplay and how they use the UE5 templates, if I'm correct, what he was mentioning. And it felt very generic. It looked different, but the play was not that interesting. And he was right. So it looks like Steel Hunters didn't make it, and Wargaming still continues with tanks and a little bit of ships. I don't remember if they have planes.
We need to talk about this next week, but I think the biggest story in all of this is Mecha Break, baby. Like Mecha is on fucking Steam. It broke over 100,000 CCUs. It is a Japanese free-to-play mecha game, and you have a deep layer of customization. It goes full Eastern, And I think this thing, oh my God, I'm so excited to play this. I'm not deep enough in to provide a review. Let's talk about it next week. My aspirations for the Gundam franchise are held in this video game.
Oh, wow.
It looks really cool.
Wow, it's a shooter,
Yeah.
like action.
But you're like flying. And
But
so
wait
forth.
till we get to the home menus and look at progression is what I say.
Mecha Break, huh?
Oh,
yeah, look at all the
Jesus.
character customization. And let me tell you,
Jesus.
this is different cultural norms.
Yeah, they look really enhanced.
Really enhanced. Yeah, anime pushed to the limits.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in the hope of being somewhat positive about what's actually working in the game industry right now, I came up with a topic to talk about is like basically the top 7 games outside of puzzle that have done well in the West for the last 2 years, mind you, are the following. Pokemon TCG Pocket, Dark War Survival, Top Heroes, King Shot, Archero 2, Capybara Go, and Last Z Survival. And I know we've talked about kind of like the essences of these, but I just want to reiterate because I keep getting people saying kind of the same thing is that everyone seems to be wanting to build games that delight themselves, right? Versus games that actually do well in the marketplace. So I came across some article that was written. I've never met this or heard about this person, Aylin Yaziki. Does anybody know her? It was actually a really, really well-written piece on 2 particular games, Century Games, Whiteout Survival, and then King Shot. And I've been playing King Shot like a fucking crack addict. It's part of the reason I wanted to talk about this. I have spent a ridiculous amount of money on this game for me. And the whole point of all these games is the same thing I've been talking about since fucking we were in Turkey like 3 years ago, right? When IDFA happened, is that all these games have the same recipe. First of all, they're all made in China, right? Second, they are casual gameplay with deep monetization design, right? Full stop, right? And they are deep. And when I say deep, I mean deep. Like they have so many different elements of engagement on these games, spending sinks and, upgrade, all these different mechanics and systems that are geared towards building up your power level for your games. And so she wrote this piece about these 2 particular games. And it's basically saying how the 4X genre is kind of evolving with these hybrid casual mechanics, which reduce complexity in terms of the funnel, but then it makes it, again, a much more deeper game when you get into it, right? By doing that, it's much easier to acquire users and less expensive in the hope to get the whales. And the whole concept here is that the fact is that the majority of the money is being generated by a very, 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 very small percentage of the people. And so you need to capture them in some ways with deep monetization design. And that is what's critical to this business, right? So she kind of writes about this on how the 4X genre is evolving. All I really wanted to say is that mass market gameplay helps bring people to the game, but the deep monetization is what actually makes money for the game and justifies all the UA spend. And so again, stop focusing on Warcraft Rumble and games that delight. It's just all about figuring out ways of monetizing them. And even these games like Grow Garden is egregious. Absolutely egregious.
People have no idea. People have no idea.
It is like the absolute worst in terms of extraction of all possible. Like the most casual game.
No.
Fucking gross. Absolutely gross.
It's
That's
direct
what it
and
takes
clear.
to make games successful nowadays. That's what it takes. So anyway, but that game is going to be here today, gone tomorrow. But these games are actually sticking around and growing and continue to attract users. So I just wanted to say this is what's working in the marketplace right now and scaling outside of puzzle, right? Puzzle is kind of a different ball game, but from a core type gameplay and game mechanics.
I did a little webinar on the Grow Garden. I looked into that one because I worked on Farmville, and it's basically Farmville for kids with Phil's love of monetization, rarity, scarcity. I mean, the whole thing.
Mutations, stealing,
and
the
gifting.
live ops. People don't understand there's a real live ops strategy in Grow a Garden.
There is.
Not only that, there are chained offers. I remember these are very young developers like implementing the best of monetization practices. And there is no place where there is not a tentacle that monetization will go in Roblox games.
And it's out of New Zealand, right?
There's two teams. Like there's the original developer. Yeah, there's a 16-year-old kid, and then someone else bought, I think, a share, and so they co-develop it. And there's some headcount on the project now. It's not just a small team anymore.
Yeah, one of the guys from the new company that took it over, he's basically a Roblox influencer himself. And so once they took it over, and I think they have like 49% of the game, and he started to talk about it, it blew up. And then every Saturday morning, and I think it's 7 a.m. Pacific time, you can just watch the CCU spike with the update. So every week, they've got brand new live ops, brand new events, brand new things to buy. And the way that they do it is just, like Phil, it's the deepest monetization that you would see in some of the hardcore games just added to this silly farming game.
It would make the original Farmville developers from Zynga blush.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of the monetization design. I mean, it is unfucking believable, right? It is sickening. Absolutely sickening. But again, it's going to be gone in a few months. I think we're not even going to be talking about this in a few weeks. So it's not a sustainable model, but it's certainly...
I think you're still missing the headline, Eric, which is Roblox's ability to grow hits like this. That's the real story here, which I think is interesting because they took someone from nothing to something based on organics basically alone.
Yeah, this is just like Zynga and Canvas on Facebook. This is exactly the same thing. You extract as much money as possible from the consumer and move the fuck on, That's why Zynga was destined to fail, is because they just extracted as much money from the users and then moved them on to the next game, which monetized less. They pulled the means of distribution right from under their fucking noses, And so I don't think Roblox is going to do that. But the next sickening game is going to come out and they're going to move on to that, that's the way this business is going to work.
I'd paint it in a better way. I think at Zynga, they called it the Death Star. They're building the Death Star and you just kind of point it and launch it. That was always Farmville, is they cross promote things and Alderon, explosion. I think the real story is that Roblox, it sounds like they finally have their Death Star, which is the platform. You just point this thing and they can scale any game on the platform. I mean, that's incredible. This is the most played game in the fucking world. Even if the ARPU is really low, which it is, that is not insignificant.
You're not giving enough credit to the influencers that draw people in to make this a thing.
No, influencers are at the other end of the funnel. Influencers cannot make something that's not popular. They are just as much riding the demand wave as anyone else. Most popular games are the top stream games: CSGO, Dota, League of Legends.
Dude, when Farmville was coming out in Canvas, people were saying the same exact thing, right? This is the most people that have played a game in the history of man.
And that matters, right? That mattered for Candy Crush. That matters for Farmville. They rode that for a long time. That wasn't insignificant. That mattered for Fortnite.
Of course it matters. And Farmville, by the way, is still around. I know it's crazy, but
the difference is they maintain these audiences for the successes like Fortnite and Candy Crush.
Yeah.
These audiences are going away, right?
Yeah, and I think that's fair. Let's look at how this one holds up. Let's also look at other platform titles like Adopt Me. There are games with stable live service.
Yeah. I'm not condemning Roblox. I'm just condemning, the hit-driven games like this. It's amazing, but it's not sustainable, right?
I don't know. That a lot of the games in the top Roblox charts have been there for a while. Yes, the hype is gonna die down because these kids have an attention span of 6 to 8 weeks and it's summer. They're likely gonna stay addicted all summer, and then maybe it'll drop down when school goes back in. It's not gonna maintain this level, but it might not go out of the top 10 or 20 unless they stop supporting with live ops or if something else comes in to take its place. What's interesting here is it's finally the farming genre. I know it's crazy to think that farming and kids is the next genre, but if I'm a Roblox developer, I'm going to go mine all of the other games for 60-year-old women, which is the irony here is that was the audience for Farmville was 60-year-old women in Iowa who love that game for a very different reason. They took all of the Pokemon trading card mechanics and put it into a farming theme. And so I think you're going to see a lot of that, if I had to guess, is go find a different theme and then just, layer in all of Phil's favorite monetization mechanics. All right. I think that's everything. All right. Mecha break next week. And we'll see you next week.
Till next week.
Peace.